Bonsoir, my boo-boo patooties. How is everybody? I'm good. I was gone for a day or so. We missed our Oracle energy forecast for the week last night because I was at my sister's crawfish boil. Her and her wife throw a big crawfish boil or two every year. And so this was their big annual spring boil. It was a huge turnout, so much fun. But I did not get a chance to make our video before I got ready and went. And then we partied late last night and I stayed out at my sister's. And then this morning I kind of just went and did the memorial thing and partied with my friends by the pool and had a good time. And so now we're here and we're gonna catch up with our Sunday reading, which is the energy forecast for the week. And then I think that tomorrow is Tuesday, and I usually don't do a post on Instagram on Tuesday. We usually do our manifestation reading. So tomorrow I will do our anchor message, and then we will have our
Powering off.
that was my speaker. Then we will have the anchor message video for Tuesday night. And if I am feeling frisky, we may go ahead and do the energy oracle forecast for the week, or we might combine it into 2 videos and we might do 2 readings in 1 video. So either way, stay tuned for that. Okay. I'm starting to shuffle. I've already got a couple that have turned over. So we've got for this week for energy that will be influencing us. So if you have just tuned in for the first time, on Sundays, which today is Monday, but we're behind a day that we established, we do the energy oracle forecast for the week. And what that is that we take a look in the Oracle of Oddities and we see the kind of energetic weather that is going to influence the week ahead as it pertains to the conditions that we will be having our comings and goings in, right? As it relates to our soul progression. So on Mondays, we have our anchor messages. And the anchor messages hone in on what are the spiritual assignments for the week in Soul School. Okay, and that's usually with archetypes. So for the energy forecast, we've got love, and we've got duality. I think that goes hand in hand with love for sure, in a way, or at least when we struggle with our ego as it pertains to love. The ego struggles with duality. The spirit is complex enough to hold paradox. And so the spirit contains all that is. It's in union with the whole of the creator, with the divine masculine, with the divine feminine, with the divine self and the human self. You are in union, you know, when you are in that unconditional divine agape love state. But when you are in a lower state, when you're in a lower state of consciousness, then we deal with duality, right? We have a shadow. We have our ego that always fights the loving truth, the loving choice, the loving direction, because it's usually not the easy one. So yeah, the duality that comes with love is that there's risk involved. Sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. Sometimes love feels amazing and sometimes it feels awful. It's like a rose, right? A rose comes with a bloom, but it also comes with thorns, right? And you know, you can't have one without the other. So yeah, let's look at closer at this duality. See, it's like the part of this person. And this is right in time with this moment for us, because as we are splitting away from the old timeline, you know, we've been talking about how 2022 is really clearing the ground of the old way of life, for the old stories to be finished, the old cycles to be complete in all the various areas of our life, in all the categories and all the kingdoms of our physical reality. So many things have been shifting. So many things have been coming to an end and to a completion. You know, relationships have been changing. Jobs have been changing. There has been, you know, awakenings and revelations and healing and, you know, a lot of turbulence in the meantime and trial and tribulation. but hopefully you've allowed it to serve you and the unfoldment and awakening of your soul, right? Rather than grasping to the ego's agenda of trying to hold on and refusing, to trust in life or to let go of our attachments and to hang on to this illusion of control that we have. And so this duality right here, like as we've shifted into 2023, which began during our spring new moons, the Aries new moon. There were 2 Aries new moons in April. Then we went into eclipse season, and it was like eclipse season was like, all right, we are starting this new story, this new timeline, this whole new Life the Series season is starting. So we're cleaning up anything that's left over from the past. And as we move into this new up-leveled life, this new up-leveled version of self, we are going to be going through a portal of initiation through this year, throughout 2023. And so over and over again, we will be tested. Are you going to live in accordance with this new self? Are you going to fall back into your old patterns, into your old fears, into your old insecurities? Are you going to settle for the same things as you did before, right? Or are you going to recognize these things and decide to choose differently? All right, so we have this person here that is still one person, but it's like of almost 2 minds going in 2 different directions. And it's like, this is the old self, right? The snake and the bat are representative of transformation, death, rebirth, change. The snake grows out of its skin, and it must shed the skin in order to grow, or else it's going to be confined. And it grows through and bursts out of it, and it just rips its own skin off its body. It can't be stopped. The bat, it's a creature of the night. The bat is blind, and it trusts its sonar, its instinctual perception, to guide its way. And so guide its way through the dark, through the unknown, right? Through that dark night of the soul, where we hang upside down like the bat does in a suspended state, where we get a different perspective, right? Our world is sort of turned upside down and it's paused, but there's more activity going on behind the scenes or beneath, the scenes that we don't see, but it's going on, right? All of that change within us is creating something new. And so right now it's like part of us can see this new life starting to bloom and these possibilities and this potential for ourselves. And yet we're still sort of like in limbo because we're still sort of like trapped or hanging on or looking at what was, or, we haven't moved fully away from the old self yet. And we may never, right? It's like, these are parts of our personality that we will wrestle with forever. But the only way to finally transcend them is to accept them and to learn those things about yourself rather than being in denial or bypassing them or trying to suppress, right? Suppressing is much different than restriction. Restriction is seeing these shadow parts and these negative thought patterns, negative behavioral patterns, these negative emotional patterns. It's like when you see those come up and you witness it and you can pause yourself and you can still sit with the feeling and explore it and ask why. What is this really about? Where is this coming from? Why is this in my movie? What's not the story that I'm getting wrapped up in with the drama, but what's the message in this for me? Right? And so that's how we then can pause and say, okay, well, I'm not going to react like an animal in absolute desperation or reactiveness, right? Out of fear or scarcity or lack or doubt or even lust or hunger or neediness. It's like we can pause, or anger, right? Impatience. We don't want to short circuit. And so we have to pause and take some breaths and check in with our higher self. What does this self, what direction is this leading me in? What would be my old pattern? What could be a different way to approach the situation that would be a step forward in the direction of growth, right? In the direction of the new self, not falling back into the old ways that lead to nothing but death and sorrow and destruction and despair. Okay. Ooh, big week. What else do we need to know to prepare us for the energy that will lie ahead for us on our journey through the next week? Ooh, beauty. So beauty. I mean, okay, the beauty in life, think about poetry. Poetry is beautiful, but it's complex, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I think that we're finding beauty in the duality of life this week, even amidst the discomfort or the pain. Because what I am connecting here is that, like in Kabbalah, we learned that pain is something that is uncomfortable, but it's a process that purifies our negativity. And so when we get to a point where we can see everything that is happening around us, and we can rise above our tendency to adopt a victim consciousness where we think everything is happening to us and we're totally victimized. But when we can see that things are actually playing out on our behalf for the unfoldment of our consciousness, for the transcendence of our soul, when we can actually be in a shitty situation and embrace it and embrace the pain and embrace everything that is shitty that's falling apart and actually try to let that be the thing that creates the change in us, and we embrace it with gratitude. Wow, I appreciate all this happening because now I can see how much I have grown, how far I've come, how I used to would have reacted to this, but now I'm not anymore, right? And we can see the beauty in the situation. And then we can look back to all the things that have happened before and the ways that it shaped us and taught us and made us stronger and wiser and more compassionate, but given us stronger boundaries at the same time. It's like we can see the pain and the joy and appreciate it all the same because it's all brought beauty and depth and dimension into our life. You know, have you ever met people that have never had any difficulty at all? It's just like they were just smooth sailing through life. These people are fine and good for them. I'm glad for them, but like they're not always the most understanding, or they're not always the deepest people. They're not always the kind of people that can withstand any sort of pressure, right? Or difficulty. If somebody's had it made for them and they suddenly like lose their inheritance, say, they may not be able to be the person that knows how to rebuild because they were coddled, right? They didn't know how to do that. And so later they will have to cut their teeth. But when they go through all of that trauma and, you know, the pain of, say, losing an inheritance, then they can rebuild and they will appreciate what they've built so much more because they did it on their own and they felt the loss of something and they knew that they would appreciate what they were building all the more because of what they'd been through, because they know that like their blood, sweat, and tears was in it this time, right? So the experiences we have, even the bad ones or the ones that we perceive as bad, when we can appreciate how they've broken us, but broken us open, if that's what we've allowed, then that's when the real magic happens. That's when we can go through a transformation that changes us so deeply from the inside out that it changes the world and our environment and our experience of life around us, right? It's because we are breaking shells of negativity, which they're ego shells. In Kabbalah, these are called klipat. It's part of our tikkun, which in Hebrew, this is the process of soul correction. So in our life, we have all of these assignments and these people and situations and circumstances that we're assigned to. Our parents, where we were born, all the difficulties that we had with our parents were specifically given to us so that they could push all the right buttons and, you know, stretch us in all the right ways that would potentially launch us on the path of our ultimate fulfillment, right? And so these things play out And as they are playing out, and as we are transcending these limiting beliefs and fears and shortcomings and our shadow nature, what we're doing is we are breaking those layers of negativity, and we're taking that dark matter that would have been on the side of darkness, and we're changing it forever through spiritual alchemy. And we're elevating sparks of light in the upper realms, right? We're elevating our soul. We're giving ourselves strength, and we're becoming illuminated, right? But that's only if we can appreciate what's happening around us and not short circuit. If we short circuit and we go into despair, we lose hope, it's like everything that we put into that, all the energy and the passion and the magic and the desire and the devotion and the dedication that we put into that thing is just wasted. Because the opponent came in and tricked you and stole all that energy for the side of the dark, right? But if you go through something, a tribulation, a trial, and you let it work on you, and you let it grow you, and you can appreciate the fucking pain, but you know that it's doing its work on you, and you lean in and you invite it in, and you try to embrace it, and you can feel the disappointment and the pain and still believe that something is going to come of it. There's something better around the corner, or there's another opportunity, or it's like if you can trust that the universe has your ultimate fulfillment in store for you, and that what is yours and won't pass you up, and what is not yours is never going to be right. It's like then when you can accept those things, then it doesn't matter what you put your hand to and fail at. Because if you stay certain in the light of the Creator and you just keep going and you're like, okay, well, fine, I'm not going to be stopped. I'm going to put my energy into this thing. Then that energy transfers and goes with you. It's like when your deposit rolls over or whatever, you get to put that energy into something else that's going to fulfill, right? So fall forward. Don't consider a failure or a loss an absolute failure and loss, because they are always leading you to the next thing, the next step. All right, and let's see, what is our fourth and final card? Ooh, what do we have here? Ooh, reflect. Okay, so basically this week, choose love. Choose the kind of agape love, right? We're not talking about immature, needy love, right? Because there's different levels of love that we learn about in Kabbalah. And there's like the infantile level of love where it's all about me. What do I need? How is everything affecting me? And it's never about like what you're actually giving or bringing. It's just, oh, I need. It's all about me. And then you get to a level where it's more of a give and take, right? And as you progress, you get more about what you are giving. You focus more on what you're bringing to work, to your family, to your friends, to your lovers, to your relationships, to your projects, right? It's not about what it's giving me. Even this channel, it's not about what it's giving me. It's about what I'm giving to the channel. It's the videos that I don't feel like making that make the most difference, because those are the ones that I'm not doing for my own hit of satisfaction and joy and excitement. Those are the ones that I'm doing for the Creator, for the person that needs to hear it in whatever, situation, or whenever they end up seeing it, or wherever they are in the world. Like, that is the one that I need to make. If I'm like, oh, I'm feeling lazy, I don't feel like it, I'm just not going to do it today, then there could have been something important that day, right? So I'm falling prey to, reaching for instant gratification and living to receive for the self alone. At that point, I'm operating from the ego, from a very infected and weak vessel. And that's the kind of love that is like that infantile love, right? Which we're looking to get to a point where we can give love with looking for nothing in return, for the sake of sharing, right? And in an unconditional way. And what I mean by unconditional and eternal, like the light of the Creator, is that you're radiant in it, and it's perpetuating from you, and you're not going to give and take according to condition and whatnot. It's like, this is just you and how you are. And it doesn't change. Like, your energy doesn't change when the circumstances change. You're unwavering. You're steady in a state of builder consciousness, right? It's like we're never going to make it 100% of the time in this life fully. I mean, we'd be in the Christ consciousness in a state of Mashiach. But for now, we can reflect on ways where we can try to choose that kind of consciousness. And it doesn't mean letting someone, walk all over you, or having no self-respect or self-esteem or boundaries, right? This is like agape love, unconditional love can say, you can have an uncomfortable conversation. You can say no when you need to, and allow someone to have their freedom to come and go, right? Like, for instance, when I was working in production, sometimes I would have to have difficult conversations with the crew members that would be working under me and who I found and hired onto my team. And if they're insecure, they might interpret that as me being bitchy to them. Oh, why can't you just let me fly under the radar and do whatever I want? You're like always, on me or whatever. And I was coming from a place of, yeah, you can just do what you want and I cannot say anything, and then I'll just never hire you again. And neither will anybody else, because you're going to be a terrible crew member who's going to be expendable. But you can listen to my feedback, and you can actually be forewarned and prepared, and you can actually learn from what I'm trying to tell you and teach you and train you to do. And you can learn from this mistake instead of just firing you or never bringing you back. I'm having the uncomfortable conversation. Do you know how many crews of people I worked with and how many people I've worked with over the years that just can't have a professional confrontation about something that is literally ruining everything around? Like, this is a loving thing to do because you're protecting the environment. You're protecting the company, right? You're doing it for the sake of building, right? I was doing that to help that crew member so that they would be more hireable, right? Rather than never getting hired again. So that kind of love, sometimes it doesn't look nice, right? Nice, Mr. and Miss Nice Guy, it's a people-pleasing energy, and it's dangerous because those people can be controlled and manipulated, right? You're not safe with a people pleaser, because the moment that something comes up and there's somebody more upset than you're going to get tossed to the side, and they're just going to go to people please. So they're not, totally trustworthy. So you have to think about what consciousness you are in, right? And sometimes that requires a strong no, and sometimes it's a yes, and sometimes it's compassion, right? It's always compassion, but sometimes compassion has boundaries, right? Empaths, sometimes we can lack boundaries, and that causes resentment, and it causes confusion, and it causes toxicity, right? But compassion has strong boundaries, and compassion knows where to say, like, this is where I draw the line, and I'm sorry, but you're on your own after this. So yeah, the duality of it all, accepting and embracing what life is bringing us right now. These tests and trials are serving us to help us embody this strength and this courage and this new sense of like inner peace and serenity that we've been cultivating. And as we go through these initiation moments, and we're going through these gauntlets, I think we're gaining even more clarity and more confidence. But that's how we are embodying this higher level of self, by actually moving through these challenges with grace. So go slow. Don't be in reactive mode, but be and watch yourself. Don't be in destroyer consciousness, but be in builder consciousness. And it really takes some pretty rigorous self-reflection and self-inventory to make sure that you're coming from a good place. All right, y'all, we've got love this week. We have duality, a lot of growth, a lot of looking back on how far we've come, appreciating it all for what it's done for us, and the courage or the integrity or the strength that it's built within us, and reflecting on that. As we move forward, you know, in this new timeline, we want to be very careful, especially this year. It's like our mold is setting, right? We're not totally solid in it. And each time we go through one of these challenging situations, we become stronger and more solid in this new self, right? So good luck. I know I talked to so many people this weekend that have been going through it. Somebody that I'd never met before, we started chatting at my sister's crawfish boil, and he was like, oh my gosh, like we were talking about the last couple of years, and I was just giving him basically the rundown of what we've all been talking about big changes and endings and huge cycles coming to closes and whatnot. And he was just like, oh my God, you've given me so much clarity and context around what's been going on for the last 2 years of my life. Thank God. And it's like, we're not alone. I was hanging out with my friends today, and we were all just like having these crazy like insights and epiphanies and experiences going on, and it's just wild. So you're not alone. We're all in this together. Things are getting better. I really do believe it. It's just life, living in the end times, huh? Ay, ay, ay. Well, all right, y'all, be good, but not too good. I will see you tomorrow for our anchor message, and maybe we will also squeeze in our manifestation reading for our Tuesday. And yeah, if you are enjoying these videos, then subscribe to my channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you're resonating. And if you don't know what to say, you can leave me a little emoji. And if you are a Libra and can't decide what kind of an emoji to leave me the rosebud and the skull for the beauty card. Peace.